Welcome back to the Culture Wave Media Network and Culture Wave Media for a new episode of the Jersey's Finest podcast. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I'm going to be your host for this intro as well as the interviewer for our amazing interview that I had with Tricia Haggerty Wenz, the new executive director from Montclair Film in Montclair, New Jersey. She was hired last September. I reached out very quickly after she was hired because I'd love to have a conversation with her about what Montclair Film is up to, all the amazing programming they have, and this is a very wide-spanning conversation that we have all across a multitude of things in the arts and film, starting with Tricia's upbringing, being a Jersey girl, then leaving the state of New Jersey to go build her own nonprofit in Connecticut, and then coming back to New Jersey for the job at Montclair Film. We talk about the 15th anniversary upcoming of the Montclair Film Festival, one that we love covering every year. We're going to be looking forward to covering again this October. We talk about how this program was started by Evelyn and Stephen Colbert, about the upcoming programs that Montclair Film has that they're going to be announcing soon and things they've been working on, as well as the impact that Netflix coming to Fort Monmouth is going to have, not only on their organization, but the state of New Jersey in general. And we get into a lot of other great things, including some of Tricia's interests when it comes to film and television and podcasting and books. And it was just a really great conversation. It was such a pleasure to sit down with Tricia. We've been trying to work on it, making this happen for quite a while. Next time, she said she's going to come in the studio, so I'm excited for that. We just did Zoom for this one, but it was a really good conversation. So thank you guys for watching. If you clicked on this video, if you guys are joining us for the first time, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Here at Culture Wave Media, we're really proud of the year that we've had thus far, and we keep building and we keep growing, and we want to do more stuff for you guys week to week, whether that's more interviews with some amazing artists from New Jersey, whether that is more film and television reviews, whether that is doing more things with our entire crew. Hit that subscribe button. We have more followers. We have more people joining. We're able to do more. So please do that if you guys can. Give this video a like, comment your thoughts on the interview, give support to Tricia at Montclair Film. You guys can follow us on social media if you don't already. All that stuff should be below me in the video at this point and also in our YouTube description. But thank you guys for clicking on this video, and I hope you guys enjoy my interview with Tricia Haggerty Wenz, the executive director of Montclair Film. First of all, thank you for giving me the time today. I know you're very busy, and I'm sure in the questions, a lot of the audience will understand why you're so busy with all the jobs that fall under what this new job of executive director is. But I want to start even before that, because for me on this podcast, Jersey's Finest, I like to kind of take a deep dive approach on how you became involved with your artistic pursuits. So why did you gravitate towards film and nonprofit in general?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to get to know you and have this conversation together. So thank you. So I'll try to give you a brief career trajectory. In 2000, I was actually at NYU getting a master's in social work. So completely different. Approaching my career is like, how do I help people? And discovered a hotel in Newburgh, New York, where people were living without heat, without hot water, in horrific conditions. The owner was renting by the hour, so you can imagine the kind of criminal activity that was happening in the building. And there was many good people that were placed there that were afraid, living in those, terrible conditions. I had a sister-in-law who did fantastic work in the city around supportive housing. Reached out to her, let her know about this hotel. Short story is like, Tricia, this is a great project. You should do it. Quit school, 6 credits to go in an MSW, left the program. Took me 2 years to purchase the hotel. But while I was doing that, I thought deeply about wanting to remove the stigma from the hotel, so people don't point to it and say, that's where the homeless people live. Stay away from that side of the street. So I thought a lot about the work that was happening in Providence at that time and the insurgence of the arts as an important, really critical movement around vitality and strength and creativity in communities and economic booms. So intentionally created housing for artists, because artists for sure have a pioneer spirit and they're willing to go to places maybe other people aren't. Created studios for artists there. Put in a contemporary art gallery, the first one in Newburgh, first contemporary art gallery, and started renovating a historic theater. So all the arts played this really critical role around providing important basic needs for humans, that lived in the building for the good people that were in the building. Housing, GED programs, counseling was all there, but surrounding them was all this art and vibrancy. And I realized that the arts did take the stigma off the building and created this beautiful outlet. I had residents from the building going to art openings along with people from the community, people throughout Hudson Valley. So after being there for 13 years, my husband got his dream job in Mystic, Connecticut, and I made the difficult decision to leave my work, the nonprofit that I founded, after driving up and down 84, 2 hours a day, realizing that we decided to split the move and move to Hartford where we had family.
Okay.
But it was still incredibly difficult. My heart was always in one direction and my mind in another direction. So it took me 2 years, left the work. But when I thought about what I did there, I realized the housing changed the lives of 128 people, which was so important. People barely or rarely moved out because there was no next step housing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the arts that really changed the community. And I wanted my work where I cared about making and creating positive changes in communities and the lives of people to lean heavily on the arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job in Connecticut at an arts organization that centered around visual arts but had film programming. It was an art house cinema. It was a single screen programming. So that was my entree into film, and that was in 2016 where I started there.
Okay. And then so my biggest question, I guess, coming off of that is when you start in something like social work, obviously you care about people because not everybody goes into that line of work unless they have to have a real care and ability to try to feasibly do whatever they can to help people that may be suffering in one way, shape, or form. Um, when it came to the arts with that, is that something that lived within you throughout that process that kind of came into your purview as the years went along? Or did you, like, as maybe a child or as an adolescent, were you someone that gravitated towards a specific type of art, or what kind of made you come to that conclusion of bringing those two things together from your perspective?
My oldest sister was a professional ballet dancer. She was at ABT in the city, and she started there. She only went to school half time and started there when she was 14. So my mom didn't allow her to take the bus alone in the city till she was 16. So I had a couple of years there where I was heading into the city. I grew up in Clifton, New Jersey. So Jersey girl. I was exposed to the arts in New York City at a young age. Ballet, the museums, because museums, we're free, right? We can head into a museum pretty easily. So Broadway shows. My dad was a big Broadway lover. He still is, seeing at least one a year with him. And film. Film was always important. I have this kind of couple of strong memories. Remember one time my mom woke me up, and she said, "You're not going to school today. There's a movie, the 11 a.m. movie hour on ABC that I want you to see." And it was Papillon.
Okay,
And
yeah, yeah.
so she wanted me to, that was, before we had a VCR, before older movies were as accessible. It was a favorite movie of hers. I got to stay home from school and watch that movie. And she did it one other time with the Audrey Hepburn movie, A Nun Story.
Okay.
So I was exposed at a really young age of the value of art. I grew up in a house on Saturdays, was music was playing rather than TV, Nat King Cole, Broadway albums. So it was always a part of my life, and exposed to like all types of art.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great way to kind of transition into your current role. And it's good to know that you come from such an art positive household because my experience was very similar. I mean, I live in Monmouth County. That's where our company is based too in Howell. And myself and my older brother both went to Howell High School where they have a magnet program for the fine and performing arts. And getting to go through that experience as high school students, I know kind of set the stage and the tone for a lot of where our own lives kind of went. And our like I talked about this. We just did our review for the Michael Jackson biopic on the channel, and I was like, I grew up on like Motown. Like I grew up on like Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire and Michael Jackson, the Jackson Five, and I didn't live necessarily in an urban area, but that was always something that my brother was a hip hop dancer as a straight male. Like that wasn't very commonplace, you know, like that wasn't happening a lot where we grew up and things like that. But with this job that you get at Montclair Film, you got last September. So you've been in this job now for, I guess, about 8 months now. It's also the leading film nonprofit in the state. So it's a very big undertaking in the state of New Jersey, where you said you're from. So why did you have that desire to come back to New Jersey? And how did you feel when you received the news that you got the position?
So that's a great question. I'd love to learn more because you're so film centric, how you made that transition where you knew film was what you loved the most on the arts. But in 2019, my mom was visiting me and she had a stroke. And she had to move out of her house and she lives now in senior housing. And COVID was really tough for her. My parents divorced when I was young, and my dad was living alone during COVID. And I started to really feel the pull of going back to New Jersey. And when I started to hesitantly mention it to my husband, he said, "Never. Nope, not moving to New Jersey. Do not bring it up." He, completely restored our, more than 100-year-old home. He was living his best life. I'm not moving. So occasionally I would look, but nothing ever spoke to me. But I had this pull really in me since 2019. And in April, I saw Coming Soon, Executive Director, Montclair Film. So I did some deep dives into Montclair Film. And I discovered it's a co-leadership model between the executive director and the artistic director. I was intrigued. I spent some time listening to some podcasts that Tom Hall did and immediately felt a kinship in his approach to leadership and what was his values. Digging into the organization and seeing their trajectory, which is amazing. Our organization is only 15 years old and our growth is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So impressed with all of that. Went to my husband and I said, I think I found my dream job. Um, and it's in New Jersey. And he only, Darren, one beat. And then he said, go for it. So I applied. Funny kind of thing. My dad's 89 and he happened to be visiting. And I said, hey, there's this job in New Jersey. This was before it was even posted. I said, it's
Mm-hmm.
coming soon and I think I'm going to apply. And he said, where is it? And I said, Montclair Film. So the next day, my dad drove to the Claridge, walked in and said, hello, my daughter would like to work here. So,
That's awesome.
one of the kids behind the front gave him like this application and he's like, I don't get it, just apply.
Yeah, that's,
So,
I mean, I think that not to cut you off in your answer,
yeah.
but talking about to the growth, like so I went to Montclair State for my first 2 years of college. And so I actually entered when Montclair Film, the organization, kind of came, it was only in its infancy stages because
Yeah.
I graduated high school in 2014. I went to
Oh,
Montclair
yeah.
until 2016. And to see from when we started covering just the festival in the last 3 years, year by year, it's just grown tremendously. And the amount of outreach that they do, and you guys do, I should say. And Tom is definitely a big part of that, seeing like how passionate he is every single time that you walk into a screening for the festival, and he so passionately talks about every single project that's about to be screened. It's a wonderful organization, absolutely.
It absolutely is top down. It is an incredibly like the group of creative and hardworking individuals that are so passionate about the mission and there because they care deeply about film, about Montclair, and about our work. And we have, speaking of Montclair State, we have a lot of people on staff that went through the film program at Montclair State, became PAs about from, during our festival, and then were hired and now are, incredibly valuable staff members. So shout out
Yeah.
to Montclair State for doing such an incredible job.
Yeah, so you dream this job up. You see it a few years ago. Your father walks in, gets you the application. You have your father's support, you have your husband's support. So then at that point, is it just like a no-brainer? Like I'm applying to this and I'm going to give
Yes.
my all to it?
Yep. So I did apply. I think it was end of April, and I remember thinking I need to make sure when they read my cover letter, they knew that AI did not write it. That was an important somehow because at that point my work in Hartford, I was reading a lot of stuff that came from AI, right? And I was like, this has to come from my heart because I strongly believe in the power of art, you
Yeah.
know? I um yeah, I applied. I got the first call from the search company, had a meeting with them, then had a Zoom meeting, had an in-person meeting, and got incredibly lucky. I know that there was people that had applied from all over the country. So I feel so honored to be given this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're a Jersey girl, I will say it's not to say it was probably an advantage for you, but I'll say us Jersey people, there's something to it, man. Like you can tell somebody that is a Jersey person through and through when you meet them, and I'm very pleased to know that somebody who received the position, not only someone as talented and as giving as you are with what you've done so far, but the fact that you come from New Jersey, like as someone who lives in New Jersey, it means a lot to me. It's messed up to say, but it's like sometimes when you see the outsiders come in, you're like, no, stay like on the West Coast. We're good over here. Like we like
We're
the way it is.
scrappy. We're
Yeah,
scrappy.
100%. I would
You
definitely
know,
agree with that.
what's funny is I left the state when I was 22. And I was
Mhm.
like, I am driving, not looking back. I am never coming back. I am never coming back. And I have not lived in New Jersey for 34 years. And I've come back and I am like New Jersey's number one fan. I was like, I can't believe I stayed away this long. I love this state so much. There is no place else I want to live now. I've seen it out there. I've been on the West Coast. I've been up and down the East Coast, New England. Trust me, New Jersey is the best state in the country.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, I can't speak as much from the experiences because I've lived here my whole life. I still live in the home currently that I'm in right now is the home I grew up in when I was 7 years old. We moved here. Only time I ever moved in my life, I moved across the street diagonally and down three houses. So that was as far as I can go. But I mean, the state has always meant a lot to me. It means a lot to the mission I'm trying to do here with Culture Wave and trying to kind of formulate some sort of entertainment center in New Jersey and in this area of New Jersey because I mean I love Montclair. Montclair is more obviously North Jersey. It's closer to New York, but like where I'm at, I'm like an hour 15 from Montclair, and I think there's a lot of great. Like I used to teach high school film, and I taught at Manasquan High School where Jack Nicholson went to high school. So it's like you look at the whole entire state and all of the talent that has come out of this state
So
and is still
true.
coming out of this state and it kind of boggles your mind if you ever looked at like a full-fledged list of all the talent that's come
It's
from New
amazing.
Jersey. It's unbelievable, you know?
I I was at the inauguration of Mikey Sherrill and she had a line that just went like Jack Nicholson, Frank Sinatra, Bruce Springsteen, you're welcome, America.
Yeah, absolutely. Because every element of what culture resembles has come from some way, shape, or form from New Jersey, I feel like.
Oh,
So
true.
it's great. But going back to you, because you had asked me before about how my trajectory went, I've kind of been all over the map. So again, like I grew up being a huge fan of music. When I was in middle school, I was in the musicals, like all that kind of stuff. But I was always balancing my love of art and my love of athletics because I also was such a huge fan of sports growing up. I wasn't an athlete per se, but I always looked up to like sports broadcasters like Stuart Scott, the late great Stuart Scott from ESPN was somebody that was my hero as a kid. And I just remember being like, one day I'm going to get on ESPN. And when I was 16 years old, so I was a sophomore in high school, I was fully going in that direction. I was in my film program, but my teacher, she happens to actually be married to Kevin Burkhardt, who I'm sure you're familiar with. A lot of people know he's the play-by-play guy on Fox every Sunday. And he used to work for the New York Mets. And I remember meeting him as a freshman and being like, I want to do what you do. And she had worked in commercials. And she's like, if you want to do broadcast, like we do that in this program too. And he winded up getting the job for Fox. They winded up moving to the West Coast. And I got a new film teacher that came in named Scott Napolitano midway through my high school career that just completely flipped my brain on how to observe film as a medium and as an artistic art form, where I think I made like 15 short films my junior year of high school because it hit me in a different way. You know, I grasped it differently, and part of that was even like editing to music or utilizing music and composition in a different kind of way. And so art's always spoken to me in a larger fashion, but for film, I'd have to say my teacher in high school was a major influence on that, and also the movie that changed my life when I was a freshman in high school was The Social Network, and just seeing
Wow.
the way that Aaron Sorkin could craft a story like that. Like nobody writes like him. And it's just this unbelievable machine of getting out every single possible word that you can get out in these crazy monologues, and but it tells a story that on the surface you're like, oh, it's the making of Facebook, like why would this be interesting to me as a 14-year-old kid, but it just completely radiated for me and had me hooked from the minute I saw it.
So true. He did a phenomenal job with that movie.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So when you first come in, you're
Hmm.
about a month or maybe a little bit less away from the film festival. Now, Montclair
Yep.
Film has a lot of things to talk about. We'll talk about it a lot in this episode. But can you describe that whirlwind of a first month for the audience with all the programming and coordinating? Because the festival is not only a major one in the state because it's always loaded with like amazing films and events and coordination with the overall nonprofit, but there's like these major panels happening too. Like last year, you had Spike Lee, and that was something where, I mean, you could feel the energy in the audience from
Oh, I'm
him
so
being.
glad you were there. So glad you were there.
Yeah, it was an
He
amazing
was amazing,
experience. I was
right?
so happy to see him live. It was incredible.
Yeah. I found out actually on July 7th that I got the job, and I asked Tom, I said, would you be willing? I couldn't start right away. I had to wrap up a lot of things in Hartford.
Hmm.
So I was starting the day after Labor Day, September 3rd, and I asked Tom if he wouldn't mind meeting with me once a week right away. So I started to really get the ins and outs of where we were with things, how everything was. And when I realized what I started, the what did they say? Like the horses already left the barn. The festival was fully planned out in September by the time I got there. As a matter of fact, a week before I started, Jill, our marketing director, reached out and she's like, I know you haven't started yet, but we need your letter for the catalog. So
Yeah.
they were so organized. So I realized this isn't my year to come in and tell anybody what to do. It's rather my year to come in and observe and listen and watch and get to know the staff and how they respond in demanding experience. It's a 10-day whirlwind, the festival. So it's 10 full days. Even if there's not a movie that starts to 11, we're having staff meetings as early as 8 a.m. So for 10
Hmm.
days, this staff. So it really, I think, quite frankly, there was no better time to start.
Yeah.
If I started any earlier, I would have felt like I needed to get involved. It was a right away to just kind of be there in that moment, help out when I can. I had to, my first public appearance as in this new position was opening night and to give a speech opening night. So more preparing for those kind of things. And it was so really amazing to witness what a hardworking staff Montclair Film has
Yeah.
and what a actually well-oiled machine it is, this festival. And there was so many highlights for me for my first festival. Certainly, Spike Lee was one of them. Brendan Fraser, we gave an audience award to Brendan Fraser, and he was incredible. We showed a very powerful and heartbreaking movie that Lucy Liu was in. She was
Hmm.
there for the festival. We gave a tribute award to Pam Abdi for her work at Warner Brothers. So those moments, and then plus, we show emerging filmmakers. We give a platform and an opportunity for emerging filmmakers. We have a whole series of films, particularly made by Montclair filmmakers. So those are amazing, amazing experiences. And something that I really, really love is we have something called the junior jury. So it's high
Hmm.
school students. And they're all together in this like united force and they go from film to film to film and they pick their favorite films. And they picked Begonia this year.
Yeah. I was there for the Begonia screening too, and Will Tracy was there,
Yep.
which was fun. I mean, you guys always get such great guests, and it's so great to see. Even like you guys highlighting. I remember I think the first year we covered the festival was when this was obviously before you were there, but Christopher Borgley was there for Dream Scenario, and I
Wow.
remember seeing Dream Scenario. Like that was a moment where I'm sitting in the audience, and that was my so this was my very first Montclair Film Festival. It's opening night. Uh, we're in the atmosphere. It's like our biggest film festival to that point we had covered. And seeing that movie for the first time, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, like we're witnessing a really unique individual with a really creative mind. And you guys always bring in great films that not only are going to be a part of the conversation for the awards, but it's really more that you guys are leaning towards, even if it's a bigger film, it has something to say, which is what I love about what you guys do and your mission and the way you construct your festival, because there's always something that surprises me. Every single year that I've attended the last 3 years, there's always something that is completely catching me off guard with the way that you guys do your programming. And it's just, I love what you guys have done over the last few years. And for you, like, I'm seeing you on stage for the first time. We had talked, I think, once prior to
Yeah.
that, right after you were hired. And I can imagine that your nerves are probably at a high. So, where are you
Yes.
at on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of nerves with this being like your first kind of presenting thing for like all of Montclair Film, all the people that come in and they support, they donate, they go to the festival every year. People are seeing you for the first time. So, where were your nerves at on that first night?
So if it was a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
um, I would say a 24.
Yeah. I can
Could
imagine.
you tell?
I couldn't, honestly.
Good.
I think it was funny. I think there was a moment where you were you were turning a lot of pages because you're like,
Yes.
I have so much to say, and I just
Yeah.
know that I have to get through it as quickly as possible. But genuinely, I think you did a great job. And I think that
Thank you.
every year you guys do such a great job. And when Evelyn goes up on stage and presents, it's again, it comes from a place of passion, which is why I respect what you guys do so much.
Hmm.
I have such a big ambition to one day, hopefully have something like that in Monmouth County. I wish that like we can have something to the level. I mean, what you guys do is just like I said, it's on another level. You're home to so many different pursuits in the cinema space in New Jersey in general. You guys have like this crazy portfolio of endeavors. Like it's the festival. You guys recently restored Bellevue, which was on a list of 100 greatest cinemas in the world, which shout out to you guys. Congratulations. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Year-round programming for young artists, sensory-friendly screenings, educational programs, and opportunities for teachers and students. That means a lot to me because I was an arts student and I was an arts teacher at one
Yep.
time. So that means so much to me. There's just so much. So how are you able, in the short time you've been there, how have you been able to sort of wrap your brain around always going back to the major mission and continue to just have not only that because you're playing into something that you came into that's already so strong, but also implement your own ideas to kind of expand what Montclair Film is already doing. You see it in the preview of the festival where Stephen Colbert is rattling off all of the different programming and things that Montclair Film has, and he runs out of breath, and it's obvious
True.
because you guys are doing so much.
Yeah. It's so great because you're absolutely right. We do so much. And at the center of all of that is film, right? So you think about our educational classes. It centers with film. We teach filmmaking. We have a program called Impact Series where we bring kids in middle school and high school from all across the state to see really important films on important social movements, the civil rights movement, on the environment. And we then bring in a facilitator to talk to them about the role that they play in their community, and how they can help facilitate positive change. Um, so our education programs are so valuable and so important. We're now leaning into with the insurgence of so much film in our community through all the new through we have Netflix coming here, Lionsgate, 1888 Studio. There's a new animation studio coming to Paterson, New Jersey that we are really leaning into workforce programming for the future, helping to train people in important jobs on film sets, right? So we started a new program this spring, from editing room assistants sold out right away. So we're so excited. That kicks off in June. We do our PA program. We take about 13 to 15 kids every year, college age kids, and teach them, to be PAs on a film set. And luckily, some years when there's local filmmaking happening, we get them actually real-time experience and they'll get jobs from there. Our education programs are really important. A new initiative when I came that was just sort of thinking about the role we play in making connections for people is we started in December something called Real Thursdays. So it's the second Thursday of every month. It's a social meetup for people across the industry in all different roles. So you have the students from Montclair State University that come to this, as long as seasoned professionals that are cinematographers, that are editors, they all just gather and it's an opportunity to connect. And some months we have speakers that talk about different things. Tom Hall, our artistic director, gave a whole talk a couple of months ago about submitting to the film festival, and it was really valuable for people to hear about that. And one of the new initiatives that we've done at Real Thursdays is have a job board, and I'm looking for, and it's different jobs and I need, and so that was a big hit. And so this initiative started in December, so we're just a few months in, and we get to full capacity every month, which is so exciting to kind of shows there's a need and want for people to connect and have these conversations around film and art. So that's an exciting new initiative that we
Yeah,
started.
absolutely. Well, I've seen some of the postings that you guys have done, pictures that you guys take at the networking events, and they seem to be a really great success.
Yeah.
Obviously, New Jersey's in this kind of pivot right now in obviously a very healthy way because production is up literally only in New Jersey, like
Yep.
according to every publication and every outlet that's talking about it. The production is immense, not only across North Jersey, where you guys are kind of based in, but everywhere in the state. Like I know the Four Seasons just filmed in I believe it was Bradley, which is about like 15 minutes from where our studio is, and there's things filming in Point Pleasant, there's things filming in Cape May, like the Spielberg movie and A Complete Unknown, and there's so many great things that are happening. That workforce program that you discussed that's sold out, what are the parameters for that? Is that something that you guys are doing with high school age students? Or is that something where like it's for like recent graduates coming out of New Jersey schools? How does that kind of work with the workforce program that's starting up?
Yeah, so mainly our workforce programs are for college students, but we are interested in kind of looking at the connection between kids that are leaving high school that are interested in the film industry as well and expanding to a bit of a younger age. But right now they begin with freshmen in college.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds like a great program. I wish something like that was around when I was going there. But I went to, yeah, I went to Montclair State for 2 years and I transferred to
Okay.
TCNJ. Ended up getting my communication. It was a communications degree. When I had transferred there, actually, they basically were like, the equivalent of what you would have gotten 2 years at Montclair is what you would have gotten 4 years here. So you have to kind of pick up a minor if you want to do something. That's what led me to getting a journalism minor. Started up on my own entertainment blog because I was such a like I was reading Entertainment Weekly at like 7 years old. Like I was just so enamored with getting to hear about castings and the industry. I've been reading Deadline and Variety and IndieWire since I was like 15 years old, and so that's what led me down this path. I ended up becoming a full-time high school educator and teaching in programs. It's so interesting to kind of see where we've come from and how things are operating because even Cal Penn went to the same program that I was in. And he was in a position for the Obama administration where he was the head of nonprofits in the arts in the entire country. And to see where things have come from and understanding what that's like, that's something that's obviously a mission of Evelyn and Stephen, who started Montclair Film. So, can you tell me a little bit about what it's like working directly with them? Because it's amazing to see what they've done with the program. As you said, the growth from 15 years is just immense, what you guys have been able to grow and do from there.
Yeah, so Colbert is one of our founders, alongside Bob Feinberg. And our founded in 2012. And originally it was just as a film festival. I think it started as 5 days in the spring. And then the trajectory again pivoted to a 10-day festival, then taking over the Claridge, where we have 6 screens, and now taking over the Bellevue, where we have an additional 3 screens. In the midst of that, acquiring 505 Bloomfield Avenue, where we have one single screen there, as well as our education space. And Evelyn is one of the smartest women I've ever worked with, incredibly dedicated, creative thinker, and also, honestly, one of the sweetest, kindest people that always thinks of others before herself. So it's been an absolute joy with working with her. And Stephen comes along and is incredibly generous with his time with us. So, for example, just last year alone during the festival, he did the Spike Lee interview, he did the Brendan Fraser interview, and he also every year does our annual fundraiser, which we have at NJ Pack. And in December, it was with Conan O'Brien, and it was one of the best experiences I ever got to witness is seeing the two of them sparring, on stage in such a way, like how incredibly their brains work. They're so sharp, they're so fast, and they're so funny. I said, we marketed it as a conversation, but really it was like a master class in improv, and it was vaudeville to its finest.
Yeah.
So I think Stephen is just incredibly generous with his time with us, and Evie is the one that is really the driving force behind the success of Montclair Film.
Hmm.
Her commitment, goes beyond anything. I mean, she's making high-level creative decisions as the board president, and she's also not afraid to pick up a broom and sweep up at the festival. So it's a pleasure to work with her.
Hmm.
If people may know this about her if they watch The Late Show, but she's also really funny. So she brings a lot of fun and joy to the work. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I really wanted to see the conversation between Steven and Conan, but by the time you got on stage and I know when it was announced, you were like, "Yeah, I think there's like 5 tickets available as of this moment," and I wasn't able to go see it. I would have loved to have seen it, but I
yikes.
did have a chance to see. I believe it was the year before. It might have been 2023. Steven's conversation with Martin Scorsese,
Wow.
which
Yeah.
was like I was fully in tears because it's just
Yeah.
like Scorsese being an Italian American, being someone from the East Coast. I grew up on his movies from
Yep.
my what my father loved, and it that was a conversation that it was a pinch me moment where I'm just like I can't
Yep.
believe I'm seeing Martin Scorsese in New Jersey discussing his entire career and how the red shoes influenced every decision he's ever made. And it was coming off of Killers of the Flower Moon, and it was just such a great, insightful conversation. And I know even you could tell the way that Steven was kind of taking all of it in. He was like, I can't believe I'm getting like an hour with this guy. And he's like, and we could just keep telling stories. Like there's just he said at the end of the interview, he's like, I literally can't cover your entire career. It would take us days to go through everything. And you saw it in the Scorsese docu-series that you guys actually screened the first 3 episodes for last year's festival, which was like my favorite, probably my favorite piece of quote unquote content that I consumed last year was just being there for the ride of basically every single production that Scorsese had ever done.
It's amazing. He's amazing. As another Italian American, I co-sign everything you just said.
Yeah, definitely. I want to go back to the education programs for a second because, again, from the high school film educator perspective, I think that there's a lot of room for a lot more programs and a lot more creativity coming out of even something starting as low as a middle or high school aged kind of individuals. They're ready to kind of express themselves in a different kind of way. So, with your experience coming in, you had never worked previously in education before, correct?
No, not really. Nope.
So now that you've been there in the position for a little while, where do you see things going in terms of what Montclair Film is doing for the educational programs? And do you have any opinion on the way that we could start to kind of see, especially in our state where things are kind of blossoming in such a grateful way. We're starting to see things really turn around. Where you think that other programs can kind of pull from, if you have any kind of advice or things that you would love to see in the rest of the state.
Yeah, we have an incredible education director in Sue Hollenberg. She is so smart, works so hard, and really is strongly very social justice oriented. So we pivoted a little bit this year with some additional funding to look towards the schools that are under-resourced and thought, how can we give the students from those schools the same opportunities to experience Montclair Film, particularly our impact series of films. So we were able to offer schools to pay for their busing for field trips, which made a
That's
huge
awesome.
difference.
Yeah.
So we leaned into schools in Patterson, Teaneck, Newark schools. We do a lot of work in Newark. We also go to the schools in Newark and do teaching there. And our impact series just exploded this year. We had more than 4,000 kids that came through our doors so far, and we still have more to go for the end of the school year. We had a particularly moving one with a school of kids that are new to the country in Spanish speakers. And we showed a Spanish film and had a Spanish facilitator. And got such amazing feedback from the students of feeling heard for the first time since they've come to this country. So that was really powerful. And I think we want to lean into more of that. How are we in a country, in a society right now where art funding is being cut?
Yeah.
How can we rise to this occasion and ensure that students are given access to the arts in a way that the way that you and I were given access as kids, that they deserve that to experience art. And certainly in our summer programs, we offer kids the opportunity to, experience filmmaking and just exploring that part of who they are and finding their people. So I think our education programs are going to continue to grow in our outreach, particularly in under-resourced communities.
Hmm.
And then in our workforce programs, how are we playing a role in this new moment in New Jersey with this 40% tax cut where film crews are coming here to make movies? What role can Montclair Film play in all of that? And that's what we're thinking about. And that's even as easy as starting Real Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
How are we? So we want to play a role in that. We want to ensure the success of all these studios and give emerging filmmakers and people that want to work in the industry an opportunity and a pipeline to that is what we're hoping for.
Yeah. I think that's an amazing and beautiful thing. And it's like I see it from like what I'm trying to do. My hope, my desire, like I said, is to build something from my program. I want to start an alumni foundation because we have a 43-year-old program with educators that were a part of this 37 years ago. And so getting to see the influence that's had on not only people that have come from the program from the 1980s, but the current students, being able to give them whatever opportunities that they could have across the state, I think would be a beautiful thing. And I hope that I could do my best to build something on my own over here as well. And even like when I was an educator, I remember talking to my administrators, and they were like, "Well, what else can you do beyond just like a film production class?" And I wrote a curriculum. I wrote two curriculums in one summer for a podcasting curriculum, and also I taught a diversity in TV and film class. And getting to give that kind of exposure to different kinds of stories to kids that weren't as familiar with them, getting to see the looks on their faces and the types of conversations that were coming out of it on a day-to-day basis, I just loved every minute of it. It was my favorite part of being a teacher, getting to have those kinds of those intellectual and deeper conversations that otherwise, if it wasn't through the art, the students wouldn't have even been able to have conversations like that.
That's so fantastic that you did that. And the certainly the diversity piece is so critical. I mean, I think about the films that we're showing right now at Montclair Film. We have, Super Mario Brothers, Project Hail Mary, but we also have a really important Palestinian film. We have a French film right now. So, giving a voice to, all of these diverse voices is so important to us, and we want to celebrate and uplift all of them, and using film as a way to connect people, after 5 years, like making these come back to the cinema. It's a familiar place. You're gonna love it again. We have a matinee club, which is primarily filled with senior citizens, and they see a film and then they get to talk. And most of them come by themselves, knowing that I'm gonna come to this movie by myself, but leave meeting and actually connecting with others. So it's another
Yeah.
way that we use film as a way to connect.
That hits me in a very emotional place because you're taking me back to something when I lived with my grandmother for 17 years before she passed away in 2020. And she lived with our entire family, but sometimes she would go to the senior center down the street to like see her friends when she had gone there. She used to go like when she first moved in with us, she would go a lot more often. And then she got older. She's like, I'll go like once every few weeks, whatever. But she would always go for the movie. Whenever they had the movie of the month, she would always go. And I never really thought about it until this moment, but those moments were so special because I got to share this language with my
Yep.
grandmother, especially when I was in high school and kind of immersing myself into different kinds of things and getting to have conversations with her that I previously wouldn't have had if I didn't
Yeah.
have the exposure or she didn't have the exposure to the art form. And so I think it's such a universal language and it just does something so dramatic in the way that it affects people. Like I remember in that same class, and like yes, foreign language was a lot of what we taught and taught about LGBTQ rights and things of that nature, and how the rise of that happened across television with things like Will and Grace to where we're at now. But one film, like a movie that sticks out to me, and it's like my dream to interview Regina King because One Night in Miami is a film that the day I saw it, it changed kind of my whole brain chemistry in the way that I consumed it. I know there are other films that play as a play because I know it's based on a play and it mostly takes place in one room. But I remember putting that in my curriculum and showing the students, and it's like getting to fully understand the importance of that time in history and the most impactful figures and what they were and weren't able to do at that time, and you're not learning about them in every history class. In some history
No, that's true.
classes, you get a 2 week curriculum based on a civil rights movement. And in this, you're getting all these different personalities and seeing what's happening not only in the culture of the world, but in arts and athletics, in the way these men were speaking to one another. And I just thought that movie from Kemp Powers and Regina King was so powerful. And it reflected on 14 to 18 year olds.
So true. So and seeing it in a theater probably too impacted you amongst other people. Um, I remember after COVID, the first movie I saw in a theater again was Summer of Soul.
Hmm.
And feeling the audience, clapping and hooting, hearing some of their favorite songs and seeing Stevie Wonder perform and getting a glimpse of history that, quite frankly, didn't make the news the way Woodstock did, and yet it
Yeah.
happened in the same summer and had these amazing, incredible artists performing. And, I was so glad that I went back so soon to see that movie and the value of seeing something in community again and really want to challenge people to it's so easy for us to open our laptops, and the Odyssey is coming out this summer. What a difference it'll make to see that on the big screen
Yeah.
versus your laptop, right? And encourage people to come back to the theater and experience film in a community again.
Yeah, I agree. And even things like what you guys have with independent cinemas, like there's a different kind of feeling when you're in a theater such as that. Like you see it like when I attended TIFF for the first time in September and I saw what they have in Toronto and the way that they sort of shepherd the whole process of being independent film people. I mean, again, they have a larger budget. They're such a big film festival in the world, but there's clearly such a real passion behind not only the way that the upkeep is happening with the theaters, with the programming that's taking place, but the volunteers that come for the festival every year. And I know you guys, obviously, I mean, you guys have great volunteers every year too that I'm sure you'd love to take a
Amazing.
moment to shout out because they just do tremendous work with you guys every year.
We have like I think more than 200 volunteers,
Yeah.
and um, it is absolutely amazing to see how committed they are and how seriously they take their work, showing up on time with a smile on their face, dealing with, different patrons and, our volunteers start with maybe taking your ticket to come in to we have venue managers that are volunteers and that's hard, right? You're managing
Yeah.
talent, loading in all of that, and that's a complete volunteer job that people are willing to say for 10 days, I'm going to take on this big production management. We have volunteers parking cars, volunteers driving from one theater to another. I had to make a intro at the Claridge. Somebody would wait for me, drive me up to the Bellevue. It's quite remarkable, the commitment we have in terms of our volunteers.
Yeah, it takes a village, definitely. And even across like so your film advisory board is clearly a village. I mean, it's a litany of incredibly accomplished creatives. I mean, this is just some of the names on the list, but J.J. Abrams, John Stewart, Patrick Wilson, Laura Linney. What did their contributions mean to the organization in terms of getting kind of those expert opinions to serve a role in some capacity for Montclair Film?
So many of those artists that you mentioned came through Montclair Film at one point or another in terms of whether they were here for a film festival or taught a master class or participated in an interview with Steven. So I think them being on that list is to show that they understand and get the role that Montclair Film plays in our community and the importance of our work and why it matters. So we're so appreciative to all of them. Some of the people on the list that you mentioned are also local. There's Joel Stillerman. He was a producer that did some really important television and some film, and he lives in Montclair. So we have more of a connection with him. There's Tom Powers on the list. He was our former artistic director. He's in Montclair with his wife, Rafaela. So we tend to connect more with the local. I think Patrick Wilson and his wife Dagmara, they're on the list. And Patrick was at our opening night for Jay Kelly. He
Hmm.
was in that film as well as at our Bellevue ribbon cutting. So I think all of them play different roles in our organization, but clearly all of them are inspiring to us
Yeah.
and are important creative voices for not only for Montclair Film, but for our country.
Yeah, absolutely. You are now about to embark on your second film festival, but this is also a monumental achievement because it's going to be the 15th edition of the festival. So,
Yes.
is there any, I mean, I know it's early. We don't have screenings until another 6 months. I know you guys are getting submissions. I'm not even sure if you guys have began reviewing films yet, but what can you preview about the festival? What are you most excited about? And what is something now that we've again talked about how you were kind of thrown into the fire in the beginning and you were just going to observe? What is something that you hope that you could now add with the experience that you have from that first year?
Yeah. So one thing I added was we've done so far one, and we're doing another one on Monday, brainstorming sessions. So we brought in an amazing improv actor actually to lead these sessions because we're an arts organization, right? And why not lean in on the art? And to say it was throw it all at the wall. What dream big? It's our 15th year. What would you like to see? You want a zip line across Church Street. You want elephants marching down Bloomfield Avenue, fireworks, zone, you want Mission Impossible helicopters. Let's just throw it all out there. So we've done our first session of that. Through everything on the wall. This is a sessions that include staff and board and then we're doing our second session on Monday. Then we're going to rank all of that and look at that and say, um, okay, what do we lean in on? So I can tell you a couple of ideas that are bubbling to the surface is to have more events. Because it's our 15th year, we always have an opening night party, but we've never have done a closing night party. And what would that look like? So thinking about expanding, making that second weekend filled with as much energy and excitement as our first weekend. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Certainly looking at a retrospective of 15 years
Hmm.
and what sharing with our community some of the amazing people that have come through in 15 years, some amazing moments, some amazing films, whether they were independent films or not, like all types of things that we've experienced. So I think we're leaning in a little bit on expanding panels for the festival, expanding parties for the festival, and celebrating how far we've come in this 15th year.
Do you think that you could foresee doing things that would be like anniversary screenings for things that had previously screened over the last 15 years?
Well, that was something that definitely came up in our brainstorming session. So we should know more again after the second one and see where we land. But I highly recommend organizations, if you want to brainstorm, bring in an improv person.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
They
awesome.
make they make it a lot more fun for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to hear more about that when the time comes. But
Yeah.
well, this is a little bit more off the beaten path, but it has to do with arts and nonprofit in New Jersey. I wanted to talk to you about collaborating, like
Mhm.
collaborating, whether that's with other organizations or things like that. I previously worked at an arts nonprofit over the summer a few years ago in a smaller capacity. I was a part of, I had like a marketing internship there, but it was a lot of, I was very excited for the opportunity. And I had come in, I felt like with so much ambition and so many ideas for ways to expand. And it was almost kind of like, like just temper your expectations because at the end of the day, we are a nonprofit and there's a lot that goes into that. Um, from your perspective, do you find that there are ways that other or arts organizations, and even if it's like film centric, nonprofit arts organizations in the state of New Jersey, can find ways to collaborate across the state to where we could expand that network for everybody in different opportunities?
Do you know, I'm so glad you asked me that question because I just came off of a really Montclair Film, a really fun collaboration this last weekend.
Awesome.
Um, so that was with the Montclair Art Museum. They have a new director there too. We both kind of started at the same time and we met and we're like, hey, we're the two biggest arts institutions in Montclair. Why aren't we doing anything together? And had a team meeting with our team and their team and brainstormed an idea that was born. And what it was we started at the Montclair Art Museum, and we had this incredible speaker, Thompson, who is the only one in the country that is a professor of art crime. And there's only three experts in the world that are professors of art crime and art heists.
Hmm.
She gave an amazing talk on art heists. Then you went to the Bellevue and saw a movie called Stolen, which was about the art heist at the Isabella Gardner Stort Museum in Boston. So, what was so amazing about this is we put this out. We have never done anything like this before with the art museum. We included a 15% off dinner at Turtle and the Wolf in Upper Montclair, and it sold out within days.
Yeah, it's
Every
awesome.
so we are strong believers in collaboration. How do we make our work better? How do we help uplift and celebrate and support people across the state that are doing good work? And our collaborations go beyond other arts organizations. We work with the Nature Conservancy. We work with Montclair Pride. We, work just with other nonprofits across our community to, again, support and uplift one another. And we're open to all types of collaborations. I mean, this one with the art museum was so successful that we're ready talking about how do we do another one.
It's awesome.
So yeah, so I think it's important, the stronger we all are, the stronger the community is, and whatever we can do to uplift and support our other nonprofits in the community. We're all for it. We did our first community cleanup as an organization. We went out there on Earth Day and cleaned the streets. We're going to keep doing that and growing that, and hopefully getting more people to join us with that too.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, whatever you guys can do, whatever anyone can do, I feel like to uplift not only other artists but other people in general, I feel like is always just such a great way to kind of spend your time and your energy towards moving forward in the world and progressing. So I think that's awesome. I have just a couple more for you, and then I promise I
Sure,
don't want to hold you too much
sure.
longer.
But
You talked a
let's
little bit. Go ahead.
oh, I
Sorry.
was gonna say let's do it again right before the festival, and I can give you all the inside scoop.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be amazing. Thank you. You talked a little bit about the pivot point that we're at in New Jersey because there are so many studios being built. I mean, like Netflix is a lot of the talk of the town for obvious reasons, for especially in my neck of the woods. Like it's 20 minutes from where we are, so we're very excited about Netflix coming. The walls are already being put up with the 1888 studios and Lionsgate. For you, are you in a mode where you're like, I wish I could start going on all these sets? Or have you gone on some of these sets and have you just kind of taken in the way that you're seeing this rise in New Jersey again, where again, cinema basically kind of started. So how does that feel from your perspective? And do you want to be on every set when you hear
Yeah.
about something exciting that's filming in the state?
Um, I think it's fantastic. I'm so excited. They were just filming a movie on my street in Montclair last weekend, driving by, and there was a craft table and tons of trailers. They were using a house right up the street, and it was exciting to see. Adam Sandler filmed a movie in Montclair last summer. A Complete Unknown was filmed in Hoboken and all
Hmm.
around. And film production does so much for communities because not only are they hiring a lot of local people, but the economy boost, right? They're using the dry cleaners, they're using the coffee shops, they're
Yeah.
using the caterers. Everything is more people are coming into our communities. So I'm excited to see in which ways Montclair Film can play a role in all of that. Because of our name, people are calling us up and asking like, "Hey, I want to film in Montclair." And now we send everybody to obviously the city council
Yeah.
for to go that way to get a permit. But certainly when they also say, by the way, we're going to need an editor or a PA, or do you know anyone, that we're able to be this additional pipeline to help connect film and with some, really good people that could work. So yeah, I'm excited for it all.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. You could feel the energy everywhere in the state. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
All right, last one for you. It's kind of a three-parter. It has nothing to do with Montclair Film. So
Okay. All right.
take that hat off and think about, all right, so I'm going to ask you, what are you currently watching? What do you
Okay.
currently listen to, whether it's music or podcast, and what are you reading?
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, what's something you're watching, whether it's a film that you've seen recently, whether it's in one of your theaters or you were watching at home that really has affected you, or a television
Okay.
series that you're currently binging. We'll start there.
Okay. So maybe not surprising, but I'm watching The Studio,
Okay. For the
which
first time?
yes, I just started the studio. I just finished shrinking.
Okay.
Um, and now I'm watching the studio and I absolutely love it. I cannot get over how much I love it. It is so much fun. Catherine O'Hara is absolutely amazing in it. Have you seen it?
Yeah, we covered the first season week to week on here. I mean, it's I just love that it feels like we have something that feels so in tune and in line with what is actually happening in the industry, and you can also poke fun at it while have it also be informational for people that might not have any idea of the way that a
Yeah.
Hollywood studio runs.
I don't want to give it away, but certainly the episode when he's dating the pediatric
Yeah,
cardiologist, and he's not wrong when he defends his work and art, and it's that to me, I just saw that one and it was like absolutely brilliant. I'm reading a book called North Sun, and it's by Ethan Rutherford, and I had the opportunity to meet him and help create his book launch. And then Obama picked it as one of his book picks, which was
that's
really fun.
awesome.
So I'm like, now I have to read this book. So I'm reading it and it's so beautiful. I really recommend it. It's called North Sun by Ethan Rutherford.
Okay.
I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm not, probably not surprising. I love Conan Needs a Friend.
Yeah. It's a great
I
one.
think that's an absolute great podcast to listen to. But before that podcast, I just listened to the new Arsenio Hall book. Arsenio, he wrote a book, and it's really fascinating to go back to that time and realize how important his show was,
Yeah.
which you don't remember. He doesn't get sort of the kudos he deserved. I mean, Magic Johnson came on his show and talked about his HIV status. Bill Clinton was on his show, Prince. So it was really fun to revisit that time. Was that all the three questions?
Yeah, and then music. What are you listening to? Is there any
Uh,
new music, or like even if you just want to hit us with some of your
I
favorite
I
music
am
artists?
like, give me the 1970s R&B all the way is like that's my jam, and that's what I love to listen to, and I tend to migrate to that more than new music. But I love the Indigo Girls too. They're another favorite of mine, listening to their music. I have a young son who's a musician, so he likes to introduce me to different music along the way. So I do, when I'm in the car with him, he'll put stuff on that he introduced me to that I really love now too. Like so Saint Vincent. I mean, not that she's new.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that's an artist that I wouldn't have discovered without my son because it's I don't listen to radio anymore, so it's
Hmm.
just putting on what my favorite music is, and I'm a huge Prince fan. So,
Gotcha. That's awesome. Well, I want to
how about
recommend
you?
so I'll for what I'm watching, I just saw the Michael Jackson biopic. We just covered that the other night, which again, I grew up like such a massive Michael Jackson fan and was so curious to see how they were adapting that story. Project Hail Mary is probably my favorite movie I've seen this year. It just affected me in such a way where that buddy dynamic between Rocky and Gosling's character was just amazing. Television wise, right now I'm watching Daredevil Born Again. I actually just did an interview with one of the actresses from that show. That was awesome. That's up on our channel right now. That was a great conversation. And I'm a huge comic book nerd at the same time, so getting to watch that stuff always excites me. Um, in terms of I'm similar to you, like podcasts. I literally any conversation podcast I'm probably watching. Like I was such a huge fan of James Lipton and Inside the Actor Studio. So
Yes, me
getting to
too.
hear real conversations with artists and the way that it is now, like Good Hang with Amy Poehler is one of my favorites right now
Very
because
fun.
it's so human and it's so fun and it's so real. And I'm a big fan of Armchair Expert because I like the way that Dax Shepard kind of dives into not only what they're doing in terms of their art, but who they are as human beings.
Yeah.
And Tom Pelfrey was just on his podcast. He's another alumni from my high school, so I wanted to shout him out too. But and then music wise, I'm a the Harry Styles album I'm really loving. I just bought it on vinyl the other day. Noah Kahan's new album I really love. I'm a big music head, so I was gonna say too to recommend to you if you're ever able to take the time. It's close to the Montclair Film Festival, so it might be tough, but the See Here Now Music Festival in Asbury Park. It's a
Okay.
2 day festival. I've attended it now 3 times. It's such an
Okay.
awesome festival to go to, and I got to see Bruce on stage play for 4 hours 2 years ago in
Wow.
Asbury Park, and it was
In Asbury Park.
one of the most unbelievable experiences of my life, like chills even talking about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm into pretty much anything and everything. I try to give everything a fair shot and just I love art in the same way that I can tell that
Yep.
obviously you do, and what you guys do at Montclair Film I think is so amazing. This is such a long time coming. I hope I could get Tom on. I've been trying to get Tom on for years now. Hopefully we can work that out, but I'm happy that I got to talk to you for a while
Yep.
today. I'm looking
We'll
forward
get
to
Tom
hopefully
to join
talking
you
to
here.
you ahead of the festival. And I just really appreciate all the time that you gave me today, Tricia. So thank
Oh,
you.
it was so much fun. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. We'll do it again and get Tom here before the festival.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye bye.
This is the culture.